Welcome to another CTC presentation. This was recorded at the BIM for Masonry Symposium on May 4th, 2017. The BIM for Masonry initiative is an international effort of the masonry industries to unify and encourage the development and implementation of tools and applications to facilitate smoother workflows and collaboration across all disciplines for owners, architects, engineers, manufacturers, masons, contractors, construction managers, and maintenance professionals. CTC was contracted to design and develop the web application and Revit add-in, which can be used to generate accurate, lightweight CAD models from data contained in the Masonry Unit database. This short video is an overview of the MUD, the mudb.org website, and the Masonry Unit generator for Revit. For more information about the BIM initiative, please visit bimformasonry.org.
Okay, so I am the product manager at CAD Technology Center, and we're located in Bloomington, Minnesota. And we just celebrated 20 years of operation, and for nearly all of those 20 years, we've supported Revit products. So my boss, he got on board quickly with Revit, and we've kind of grown in that vein very, very rapidly throughout the Midwest and now worldwide. We have a number of customers that are familiar with our tools, hopefully some in this room, that we developed that work with now. Okay, that's why, because there's some fun little. These are some of the services we provide. Number one, we're Autodesk reseller. We do training on all of the products that we sell, technical support. We do project support, consulting, and CTC Labs. That's kind of our, I guess, skunk works, as you could say. It's not that mysterious. Really, also one of the things that one of the projects that we did with IMI was to cooperate with them and come up with some of their best practices documentation. So that is part of our history there. I'm going to say that, yeah, we do a lot of fun stuff, as you can see on here. Not going to keep going into it. Some of our notable clients in the past, I'm actually from AECOM Ellerbe Beckett, prior Ellerbe Beckett. And so I'm familiar with the company I now work with. Okay, so some more salesy stuff, and I'm going to dismiss this, maybe? I don't know. We'll see what happens. Hopefully everybody on the WebEx or the GoTo can still see us. All right, so as I did mention, we have a number of Express tools that integrate with Revit. These are high productivity tools, really outstanding value, especially in the industry. With our BIM project suites, manager suites, all of these, you get several tools for one spectacularly low price. And they've been around for quite some time, so they're pretty well vetted. They're built by listening to our customers, and so that's made them crowd favorites. Now I'm going to fire up Revit. So, well, actually, let's start here. Had to shut it all down before, because since this all started. Okay, so what we have here is a solution to obviously a very complex problem, an important one nonetheless, though. This is the web entrance to the MUD database, or the MUDB. This is where you would want to go to, say, find some of those units. Mentioned previously the LODs for doing some of your virtual mock-ups. Okay, the idea is that you may come here to find some of those components that you need to do this. Now, there's not going to be break ties, but what we're going to have here, and initially, as Jeff mentioned, a number of units that you can trust. the things that are the most common in the industry that represent 80% of what's out there. So where we start with that is a number of ways to find this. That's what the MUD's for. So if I wanted to find something by color, or I knew the systems that I was working with, and I needed to get a couple of components that also work with those systems, I come here. There's two ways to enter. You can just simply start with a search, as you can see at the top here. There are a number of properties, and we'll add more than likely as this gets developed further and further and revised. Pardon me. Other than that, or another way to go, is that you can simply browse by system. So this is the way I'm going to start. Is we'll say go structural clay units. Okay, so these would have first a way to be able to filter. So I'll pick on the left here. This is just a suggestion. This is what we envision might be a good place to start and to begin to find some of these units. The data that you see here now, there will be more columns, and maybe this is where some of that second phase feedback comes in. What makes sense to see in this first view? So for now, what we thought is perhaps a little preview of what this unit represents. Maybe a good descriptive name. What are the colors that's available in? And then as you need to see more information, you'll be able to click on an individual unit. From here, there's some fun stuff that happens behind the scenes, and I think we didn't really get a good deep explanation or even an overview, but what we have at play here is the web technology that you're seeing here that this is built on, the database in the background, and a third piece that makes this useful to people who are using CAD systems to create these details. And so when you click, for example, on here, right now what we have available are several CAD file types, or 4 to be exact. So if you use AutoCAD, we have a 2013 format AutoCAD file you can download of this unit. If you use MicroStation, DGNs, if you use anything else, a DXF. And specifically, because Revit doesn't play well with others sometimes, it's got to have its own special child, right? It's a special child. You need the RFA. And when you click on these, what's supposed to happen in the background here is that eventually I will get a unit. And there it is. Okay, so what really was going on here is that the website was talking to the database, and it got the data, and then it went out to a Revit instance that we have running, and it says, here you go, give me something. Give me a CAD unit. Now, the beauty in this is that you get an actual, because Revit's the picky child again, right? You get an actual Revit file. So the Revit data that's coming back to me, I know when I bring it into Revit, it's not just another piece of geometry that's pushed in. Now, it is a very simple family. And in a way, that's a good thing because you're going to have hundreds of these things. And I'll show you later what those families look like. And additionally, it will come down with some of the color and material information. Now, we've got right now just a 6-sided generation going on. So first version, probably second version, that's what we're going to be getting. The database has the right, let's say, schema to be able to bring in more specific information in the future. So what the vision is that when you get vendors online with this, specific manufacturers of a particular type of masonry unit that have a specific name for a specific color and a specific version, as it gets specific like that, there may be that it needs to be uploaded as a pre-created family because it's simply too complex or irregular to just generate on the fly from a few fields in the database. But if it's just the colors, materials, and everything else is the same, then they can simply have just a custom unit. So I can see all of the 6 by 2¼ by 16 blocks that are generic, and I can also see, but these manufacturers make something that is almost identical, except they call it burnt sienna, or their special, baby bottom smooth finish, whatever it is. So as that goes further, the geometry is going to be the same, and the only thing that's going to be different is that it comes from a vendor, and that you maybe have just a slightly different color or a slightly different texture on it. But that'll make these even more interchangeable. Okay, so as you go further, well, let's see. Let's back up here, and we'll do one of the searches. So I have a number of, as I mentioned, some materials. These are predefined material that I can actually pick. And the size right here represents, right now, a way of thinking about concrete masonry units. So I have 4s and 6s and 8s, and I just learned all this stuff over the last year. So forgive me if I say something wrong. You can let me know, but I'll try not to say anything that doesn't really make sense. Okay, and I'll pick gray. I know there's a bunch of gray ones in here. And hit search. All right, so I wound up with a couple of concrete masonry units, or masonry units. Actually, I think these may not be concrete. Yeah, they are concrete. Okay, and it's the same concept. I click on that, I can download it. Something else that I could also do is maybe find more stuff. I can find more of these. Now, notice that this is really just giving me all of the structural masonry that is currently in the database. So each one of these, they may look like they don't differ by a lot, and they don't, but this is every instance of every color and material and texture combination that is possible for a 6 by 4 by 12 or for a 8 by 8 by 8. Okay, so now you can start to see the magnitude of what this database encapsulates, and the complexity that you could possibly be tossed into. And the idea is that with this website, and then with the Revit add-in, at least now, the Revit add-in that I'm going to show you, you will skip over that having to know and browse and wade through all of these continuous and differing combinations. And hopefully find this stuff, as I saw previously, maybe this is where you initially source your LOD 300s and 400s and 350s. And I can see that probably most of these, they're probably fitting between the 300 and 350 range. And that wasn't something that I went into it knowing, but I just kind of like started to put all these pieces together as I saw some of these other presentations. And again, the structure, or the way that this website is structured, is to try to make things as kind of straightforward as possible. So finding things, again, these are terms that we put into the structure of the site that we think make sense. We'll look for more comments from everyone, and there is a way to actually, once this all comes back, gets going, there is a way that we'll find out what you think and what are your ideas, and how can we improve it. Okay, so now another live demo. I assume there's a lot of Revit users in here. There seems to be. Okay, so you typically have to wait a while for Revit to do anything initially. So here we go. Yeah, so for the purposes of this demonstration, I'm not using 2018. Now we'll have the plugin that we've developed for this currently works in 15, 16, and 17. The website right now just returns a 2015 file. So you can use that in any forward version of Revit. So it's like kind of the the minimal compatible version of Revit. That's what we're providing now. And it really is, it's just a matter of an upgrade. It's a very quick process, but I think that once we get everything really rolling, we'll get all other versions going. 2018, I would anticipate we'll have probably on the official release of this add-in, we'll have 2018 version available as well.
Question from Will. I saw the format. Is there thoughts long-term you would include IFC just off the bat in this, or I see it's tabled for right now. Is that on the table?
Yeah, so it's possible, I think, to do. The way that we generate this is pretty much, I mean, the engine behind it is pretty much the same as the add-in I'm about to show you. So whatever Revit can export, we can probably include. The thing about it is, I guess, I don't know the application for IFC here, because these are units intended to be used in your design software. But if there's a strong case for it, absolutely take a look and see what it is that we need to do and what that should be. So, I mean, I had to define kind of what this Revit file is going to be based on what I think is useful. And same with the drawing files that it outputs. So what you have here is our Masonry Unit Generator add-in. This is connected directly to the MUD website, so it gets all of its data there. That means that anytime you use this, it's going to be the most currently available data. You're going to get everything that is published on that site. The idea was to make it very easy and quick to browse through. You have the same kind of categories to go through in and out of. Okay, and what I'm seeing here in structural masonry are the various families or the terms that we've tried to classify them by. So if I say I'm looking for fours, all of the fours, all right, I'm getting those same sets of units. And the way that this works is that it's giving me the default preview image, and if there's a color association, anything beyond default, it's going to give me that as well. There's also on the right-hand side here, you can filter by some of the more well-known material types. So concrete, clay, stone. Yes, sir.
Is this linked to the database through the web?
Through the website. And
then you could bring it directly into Revit from the website?
Yes.
Can you repeat that?
Yeah, repeat the question, please, Mike.
I'm sorry, yes. This add-in is connected directly to the website, and the website is connected directly through the database. And this add-in, as you'll see, its intent is to get the data from the website in a usable form into Revit. So let's see how that works. I'll just grab one of these units. You can drag and drop. It downloads, and you place. Now, one of the considerations that maybe needs further hashing out, I think it works fairly well, is what do I do about placement? So there are some default kind of reference planes in the families that'll give me that little gap for mortar. There's no mortar included in any of this. It's just the unit itself. We can place several of those. Once they're there, they're real Revit families. So again, for all the Revit users, this is awesome, right? And for if you do most of your modeling in other software packages, Unfortunately, we're not there yet with as much functionality, but hopefully going forward. So as you go through here, also I'll show you just a couple of other things. You can search by terms in a very similar way. If I want to start by filtering, mostly what we have in here are US units, and I can just for now choose from what materials to go by. So if I picked concrete here and maybe typed an 8 and hit search, if there's a 8 in the name, I get all of those units. Works the same way. I can drag and drop these. There's also this concept of a library. So if I'm not going to start working with this design right away, I just know that I need this kit of parts. You can actually set up a library on your system. So right now I have it pointing to a location on my hard drive. When I have a unit here, instead of putting it in a model, a Revit project right away, I can simply choose to add it to the library. And I can go through and just add a whole bunch of those guys. And it'll prompt me to save it. So that just tells me, that little pointer says, okay, where should I start you out at? And if there's some other kind of structure you want to take after that, then you can simply put it in the same place or in a different location if you wish. As your library builds, you'll start to see more and more of these units show up in this list. And from here, you can actually add them to the project as well. These show up as generic models in your browser. Also, this is a non-modal dialog, so it can float off to the side, multiple monitors friendly sort of concept. So you can have this in where your email sits and then work on Revit on your other monitor. These simply work the same way. Doesn't matter how you want to add these. You just go right ahead and do it. What you'll see overall, and let's get that 3D view because that's interesting as well, is you start to see some of those digital mock-ups kind of taking place. Now, again, I don't know what I'm doing here, but I know how to use Revit, right? So one of the ideas I kind of came up with for this was maybe these are just kind of copy-pasted or arrayed upward. And I thought, if I had the right parts here, I could actually just pick one of these guys and start interchanging them to make other things. So there, it just kind of went right along, and if I take this one out and I switch it for one of the 8x8x8s, and I can start to easily make an opening in here, things of that nature. You can put these together in assemblies, or you can create your own arrayed families. There's a number of ways you can use these units. Assign your own colors and materials if you wish. They do come with, if we've got the RGB values entered, we do have it for a number of colors. They come with all that.
Color selection of a clay masonry unit.
Sure.
One of your focuses on the color. I want to see the color range.
Sure. Okay. So we would like to see the colors of a clay masonry unit, the way that they're shown. And what I can do is I can show you what they are in the actual add-in. But you actually uncovered one of the things that are still, this is all beta stuff. One of the things that are still kind of unresolved is once I bring a unit in, the material Revit uses the material that I actually have, not the material that it now comes in as. So it needs to be ironed out. But all of these, or many of these, I went ahead and just defined a number of colors. I just associated a whole bunch of different colors with these modular clay
And
units.
do you match the color to a specific manufacturer's catalog picture, or?
We do not.
How closely will the color on that screen match the final product when I make the order?
So that's up to the manufacturer. The question is how close are these to the manufacturer color when you make the order? These are not. These are close colors. These are color families. Version 1, color families. We need manufacturers on board,
So I
right?
would not want to use this for making my final color selection, correct?
Right.
Right, you would not.
Okay, so that forces me to go to the individual manufacturer's catalog for the final decision of what specific color product do I want.
Yes, version 1, that's the limitation that you'll
So
have,
then
yes.
what is the benefit of this? Now, again, I'm focusing on color, but I think admittedly, color for architects is a very important factor.
Mhm.
So your product has many characteristics or advantages or other aspects of designing walls. Okay, so I guess I'm focusing specific on color, then I just have to realize that's a limitation. You have kind of stylized the color or made your best interpretation of a catalog picture, but it is admitted to be, it's a close approximation.
Yeah. So the question that came from that is that I see is how do I interpret the color in this that comes along with the units? The way that you interpret the color is that version 1 of this MUD database is that everything's generic. If you want manufacturer-specific things, either you can manipulate the units that you're using, or you can wait until manufacturers get on board with providing their specific. So that's in the initial, when I mentioned specific versus generic and custom. Their specifics come in, that's where you get right out of the catalog.